So genetic disorders in general tend to be recessive, but what's interesting is they tend to be more prominent in different populations depending on their histories. So one that happens a lot now is cystic fibrosis. And just historically, it's in 1 in 2,500 people of European descent. There are certain populations that hardly get it at all, and we're going to talk about why in a second. So what happens when you have cystic fibrosis is basically doesn't allow your mucus to actually be thin enough, and so it builds up in the pancreas, it builds up in your lungs and your digestive tract, and so it can give you infections, and it can give you issues with absorbing nutrients because everything just kind of passes through. Then there's sickle cell anemia. And so sickle cell anemia, I think I had a picture here, yeah, is you have normal red blood cells look like this. If you have sickle cell anemia, what happens is your red blood cells look like this. And so it actually makes you anemic because you can't carry as much iron. But what's interesting is they've actually done studies on it, and they think that this arose as a resistance to malaria because people who have sickle cell anemia traits, they actually do tend to be resistant to malaria because malaria goes after the red blood cells. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right, so that's going to be those. Now, another thing that people think is all genetic defects are going to be recessive, but that's not true either. Huntington's disease is going to be another disease that doesn't really show up till you're like 40 or so. And so at that point, most people have had children, so they've already passed it on without realizing that they have it. So it's a degenerative disease of the nervous system. It's kind of crazy, and it doesn't show up until after you've had kids, so that's kind of interesting as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is codominance, and that's where you have everybody kind of showing up. And so this will be easier if I draw this out for you guys. Okay, so what's going to happen is, as you know, there are a couple of different blood types, right? So you can have type A blood, you can have type B blood, you can have type AB blood, or you can have type O. So A and B are dominant. So here are the combinations. If you are A blood, you are either AA or AO. If you have type B blood, you're either BB or everyone's favorite BO. If you're AB blood, you're only AB, and if you're O, you're little o. Okay, so those are the only ways. So the one that's kind of funky in this is going to be that AB blood, right, where you have both of them show up. So why do we care about blood types? Well, that's actually going to determine who can donate and who can actually receive blood. So we're actually going to do a lab about that so you can kind of see that in a little bit more detail. The other thing that comes up with blood types is going to be the Rh group, and that's going to be whether you're positive or negative. So you could be O positive or O negative, AB positive, AB negative. And the only time that that's really going to be an issue is if the mom is Rh negative and the baby that she's having is Rh positive, because what will happen is immune systems will attack, and that's usually going to happen during childbirth. Now, that is thought to be one of the reasons why there was such a high death rate in childbirths before, all of this, technology and science. And now, if that happens, you just get an infusion and you're fine. So it's not a big deal, but it is something they need to monitor. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to talk about how we can look at pedigrees and how those actually work, and we'll do a couple of problems with that. Oh.